Did AEW do the right thing by giving Chris Jericho the World Heavyweight Championship, crowning them their first ever world champion? That's the big debate going on in the IWC right now. If you go on Twitter and you type in Chris Jericho or you type in any responses, a lot of people, they're very mixed on it. There's some fans who love the idea that Chris Jericho is the first world champion. And then there's some fans that are like, oh, well, it's just them pulling a TNA route or WWE route, just giving the older guy with the name more value than the talent that they're trying to build. And I can understand viewpoints from both sides. Now, where do I stand on this? I was a firm believer that Jericho needed to become their first world champion. This is why I believe that. First of all, this is not like AEW, some established company. They're not Ring of Honor. They're not New Japan Pro Wrestling. They're a new company. They're a new face, and they're going on TNT. And a lot of people don't understand and realize that when you're going to go on a network TV show like TNT, it is not just the wrestlers and the owners involved. It's people that may want to invest in the company. It's advertisers, maybe stockholders. I don't know if AEW is a private or public company. It seems like they're private right now. But if they ever do get stockholders are involved. A lot more behind the scenes, corporate people involved. So there's a lot more people behind the scenes than just, oh yeah, I am just the wrestlers, we're the EVPs and Tony Khan. It's more people involved. And they realize that, with this deal that they currently have, they're paying to be on TNT. TNT is not paying them to be on their network. AEW is paying TNT. So they need to come up and they need to show that this is AEW. They need eyes on the product. And Chris Jericho, whether you like him or not, he is someone that gets eyes on the product. He is a big name from the Attitude Era. A lot of people, know Chris Jericho from the Attitude Era, especially more than some of the wrestlers from there. Whenever I ask friends like, oh yeah, who are some of your favorites when they were kids? They'd be like Rock, Austin, Jericho, Triple H, Undertaker. Jericho gets mentioned in a list of good names. A lot of people put Jericho highly on their list. A lot of people say Jericho's the greatest of all time. And I just feel like if you're going to start off the company, and especially on TV, it's not a bad idea to have Chris Jericho be your first world champion because he helps the belt look a lot better. He helps the company show that there's main stars attracted to it. I'm not saying he's going to be the face of your company or anything, but I'm saying as your world champion, your first world champion, he's not a bad choice because you're trying to get the ground up running with this company. As long as Chris Jericho drops it to someone that makes sense, this is not a bad maneuver. This is actually not a bad move. I think AEW did the right thing by giving Chris Jericho the world title, and that's just my opinion. And you don't have to agree with me on that. That being said, I understand the camp that's frustrated that Jericho won the AEW World Championship. But then again, this is the camp of people who I talked about don't think about the other things such as the shareholders, the executives, and the advertisers, and everything that go on behind the scenes besides just trying to do a wrestling show. Hangman Page. If I'm someone, especially if I'm working as an executive role for TNT, I would not know why you would want him as world champion. I just look at Hangman Page, and I'm just going to be dead honest with you, he's just not ready. He is not ready to be a world champion. And then there becomes another layer of debate where it's like, well, Chase, how do you know if someone's not ready if you don't give them the chance? And you're right. How do I know Hangman Page is not ready for the world title if I haven't seen him as a world champion? I don't know what he's going to do as a world champion. Well, I'm going to look at it based off recency effect of looking at guys who are solid workers being world champions. We have one in Kofi Kingston right now. Kofi Kingston, most people wouldn't say is a great worker, but he's a solid worker and he's WWE champion. And besides a lot of hardcore fans, a lot of people are bored with Kofi's title reign. A lot of people say Kofi's title reign is kind of eh. So that's pretty much what Hangman Page is going to be. He's just going to be eh. He's just going to be another guy that's good in the ring and he can wrestle. That's fine. We have enough of those though running around in this planet when it comes to pro wrestling. To me, there's just no appeal with Hangman Page. There's no character. They gave him a gimmick where he was supposed to lose weight and get jacked to face Neville, this full gear gimmick. And he failed at it. He didn't change his body whatsoever. Like literally, if you look at Hangman Page's body from when he started the quote-unquote full gear challenge to now, it looked like nothing changed. It looked like nothing was different. They just dropped the storyline on BTE because Cody said, oh, you didn't need to lose weight at all. So then what was the point of doing that? Like, what was the point of hyping up Hangman Page as that he's this ultimate beast and workhorse? He can change and transform his body just like that. Like he didn't do anything to present himself as a main eventer during that time. And I watched a lot of ROH matches with Hangman Page, and I just say, wow, he's a good worker. He can wrestle a good match. I'm enjoying from what I'm seeing match-wise. But overall, as a presentation, he's just like a TV champ. Like, he's a mid-card champion right now. And could he improve and become a main eventer? Absolutely. Do I see like main event potential in him right now? No. If I was playing NBA 2K, he's like a B potential right now, and I don't know if he's going to develop into a great player, but maybe if I have one really good season with him, he might. But as it stands for me now, I want to put the world title on a guy like him. It's not because he sucks or he's bad in the ring. I don't even hate Hangman Page. I just think as of now, as me as a viewer, if that was your world champion, you trotted him out there and they said he's the best wrestler in your company, I would disagree. I would sit there and say, well, what about Pac? What about Cody? What about Omega? What about even one of the Bucks? What about Sammy Guevara, MJF? Like more guys come into head where I'm just like, I don't know. And especially when you look at Hangman's matches in AEW, they're all like 50-50 booked matches, like especially against guys like Kip Sabian. Like, that's not how you book a world champion. Hangman Page should just be able to be one of those guys where it's like Kip Sabian and him, like it wasn't even a competitive match. It's just Hangman dominating from start to finish. Sabian gets some licks in, but at the end of the day, Hangman Page shows why he's a main eventer. And he didn't show that in that match. He just showed that he's just like every other wrestler going out there and wrestling. It's like in the UFC. A lot of people like to compare AEW to a real sport, saying, well, you got to understand, Chase, AEW's booking is like they're a real sport. So that's why Hangman went 50-50 with Kip Sabian. No, here's the thing. If any of y'all have ever watched like any UFC fights, guys like Kip Sabian who go toe-to-toe with a number one contender, those guys automatically get favored by Dana White, say like, oh yeah, he's going to be a tough guy in the future, and then they get pushed to the moon. Kip Sabian was not even on the all-out card. So I don't want to hear, oh, well, Kip Sabian, he looked good in that losing effort and it made Hangman Page show that he can go toe-to-toe with anyone at any time. No, because Kip Sabian wasn't even on the card, and he didn't feel like a main eventer. If you ever watch UFC fights, and you see the guys that are the top-ranked guys, and when they face guys that are a little bit lower, what do? They dominate those fools. They just end up pounding them. And sure, not every win is a knockout flash KO win, but you see them and you're just like, oh my God, like when Khabib was on the rise, and he would face someone that's like Michael Johnson or Edson Barbosa, he would go in and just take them down and beat the crap out of them. And everyone just be all like, oh my God, this guy is just insane. Sure, it wasn't a knockout win like when McGregor was rising to the top and he was knocking out dudes like Poirier and Dennis Siver and everything. But still, he was dominating them. And it made you say, this guy is going to be a stud. When I watched Hangman Page versus Kip Sabian, nothing about that match said, oh, Hangman Page is going to be a stud. It just made me say, wow, he's just like everyone else. And I don't want my world champion feeling like everyone else. Chris Jericho, yes, 49 years old. Old. Even though I'm always in the camp where wrestlers don't hit their primes until their late 30s. That's just me. And I feel like wrestlers, especially if they're at an older age, they're much more smarter and they're able to tell better stories. And I feel like Jericho, even when he's 49, it's not really all that bad. I understand the camp where, yes, they pulled a total TNA/WWE move, giving it to the older guy instead of the younger talent. But keep in mind, they're not like a WWE or TNA. They're not a company where it's like, hey, we have all these years of history. Let's try something new. They're a new company. And I know everyone's going to say, well, this starts to trend because now they have to rely on these older names. Or they have to rely on an older name first before they get to their talent winning the belt. Because like Hangman Page becoming the first world champion, like, I'm just being honest. I just look at it and I just go like, really? That's going to be your first world champion? You're going to trot him out like he's some main eventer when he just doesn't feel like it? This would be totally different if he felt like a main eventer. If there was some aura and some can't miss potential about Hangman Page where it's like, you got to put the belt on him, whether he's ready or not. Like, and there's wrestlers like that. See Randy Orton. People are like, hey, you got to put the title on this guy. Whether he's ready or not, there's something about the guy. And you just got to do it. That's what happens. Kevin Owens. There's an aura about him at a certain point in time in 2016 where everyone said he needs to win the world title. And sure, granted, that happened I believe a year later where he won the world title. But he won the world championship and people were making a big deal about it and people were happy. Even though he was ready at the time, you got to give him the belt and try to see. And Hangman Page, though, he just doesn't have that aura. He doesn't have that mystique about him. He's just another wrestler on the roster. And I don't want just another wrestler to be the world champion, especially for a new startup company. I want someone with name recognition. I want someone who is a main eventer. And take whatever you say about Jericho, he still wrestles at a great high level. He's still someone that can put on pretty solid matches when need be. And he's someone that feels like a bigger deal. A rock star. Someone that goes out and has his own band and does a bunch of crazy stuff. I get it. People are going to be like, well, you get mad when Brock Lesnar does it. But here's the thing. It's annoying when Brock Lesnar comes back and he wins the title because it's like, dude, Vince, we get it. You like Brock Lesnar. You feel like Lesnar's box office. But yet when you look at the ROI, it's not really that good. Sometimes Brock Lesnar, too, gets annoying because it's just like you start this trend where it's like, and here's the thing, it's not like AEW has this trend where it's like, oh yeah, well, Hangman Page, he's consistently there. Jericho's not there. It's like with WWE, they give the Universal title to one of their main roster guys that are there week to week, and they're hoping like, oh yeah, this leads to them being on weekly TV all the time, so it helps the ratings and everything. But then they're like, oh, the ratings suck, let's just give it back to Brock Lesnar and acting like it will help. It's two totally different things. It's not even an age thing when Brock Lesnar wins the belt for me. It's more of the fact where it's like, dude, why do you keep relying on this guy when he really doesn't help all that much and it just hurts your weekly TV more? Compared to Jericho, where it's like we don't even know what their weekly TV is going to be like because we haven't even seen a weekly episode of AEW yet. So overall, you can have your sides, you can have your debates. The thing is, though, if you are going to debate, understand each side. If you come in just saying, hey, this is my viewpoint and this is how it is, it's not going to work out good for you and it's going to be a terrible debate. But ultimately, I feel like AEW did the right move in giving Chris Jericho the World Championship. Hangman Page just isn't ready yet. He just isn't. Maybe one day he'll be a world champion. Maybe one day he'll have that mystique. But I'm sorry. Something about Hangman Page just stinks. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys have yourself a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.